All right. Hello, everyone. Hope you're all having a wonderful night. My name is Adrian Carmona, and I want to welcome you guys to yet another edition of the Varsity Live Postgame Show. Another huge night, second round of playoffs has just concluded. A lot of big games that we have to recap for you guys. Today, we're looking at games from Marana versus Hamilton, Brophy versus Perry, Mountain View versus South Point, Yuma Catholic versus Walden Grove, Queen Creek versus Pinnacle, ALA Gilbert versus Campo Verde, and we're also going to just honestly just throw in some recaps from other states across the country too. So without further ado, let's get right into this. We're going to start off with Travis, who's going to be giving us the recap of ALA Gilbert versus Campo Verde. Travis, how's it going?
I'm good, Adrian. How you doing?
Doing great.
Good. Well, it was honestly a closer matchup than the final score appeared. The ALA Gilbert North Eagles and head coach Ty Detmer, they finished the game with a 42-7 victory. They were going into the half. It looked like they were going to be up about 4 scores, and unfortunately, starting quarterback went down with a brief injury going into halftime. So that resulted into an immediate turnover, which led a little bit of that momentum back for the Coyotes, but ultimately Coyotes offense just not able to pull it off tonight. Number 17, Easton Bakutis from the Campo Verde Coyotes. He had a tremendous game, but really just wasn't enough to pull it together for him.
Yep, absolutely disappointing loss there, but I'm sure they'll be back next year. But Travis, thank you once again for joining us tonight. Hope you have a great rest of your evening.
Awesome, you too.
All right, thank you, Travis, for that recap of the ALA Gilbert versus Campo Verde game. We are going to take it over now to Roman, who's going to be giving us the Mountain View versus South Point recap. Roman, how's it going?
Hey, Adrian, how's it going?
Doing great.
Yeah, absolutely. So the game was a really interesting one. It started off pretty back and forth. Mountain View had kind of looked a little bit flustered, which we're not really used to seeing, but they kind of got into their groove in that second quarter. Heading into halftime, it was still a close game. It was 17-10, so only one possession. But overall in the game, there were 5 interceptions by the Mountain View defense, which really helped propel them to the victory. They ended up winning by a score of 41-10. So it was a blowout in the end.
Yep, absolutely. And we're going to hear pretty soon from their player of the game and head coach. Jasper Lake had a great game. I believe he had 3 interceptions, so we'll be hearing from him in that post-game interview. But thank you, Roman, for joining us. Hope you have a great night.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
All right, so that was Roman with the recap of Mountain View versus South Point. Very dominant win for Mountain View. We're going to take it over to Layla's post-game interview with their player of the game. And yeah, we'll just take that away right now.
Over South Point Catholic. Jasper, you have 3 interceptions. Talk me through going through your head, all of that excitement.
I mean, we played a front line on defense, played phenomenal. We were keeping pressure on the quarterback. It's just they make the quarterback throw some questionable throws, and it's our job. I mean, it's back to go get that out of the air. That's what we do tonight.
Well, congratulations on that. You're now heading to the semifinals. Playing the state. What are your initial thoughts on that?
I mean, we treat every team the same. I think everyone on this team treats the best team in Arizona, not just 6A, but we're going to come in, we're going to treat like any other game, we're going to work, just like we always do. And it's important to both. We're going to go home, so we kind of have that extra mentality with us, so that's going to drive us. I think thank you.
All right, and we're going to look at their post-game video with head coach Andy Lynn after a big win for Mountain View.
Layla Reuters reporting posted here at Mountain View where the Toros are over South Point. Coach, first off, congratulations, you're heading to semifinals. So to start off, you guys had that what do you tell them for the
I think that our kids did a really good job staying focused. we actually sputtered right after, which was tough, but our defense kept playing really tough. And I think once we got the rhythm of the game, we really settled in, especially that second half. I was really proud of our kids. They came out with fight, and I think that we put them away real quick. Yeah.
How proud are you of your defense?
I'm so proud of our defense coordinator, Jared Stone, and that staff. Getting the kids to play Jasper Lake is a guy that we've been talking about. He's been so close to a lot of turnovers this year. And so him getting 2, Brody getting a pick. Actually, I think Jasper was 3. Yeah. So I'm just really proud of our defense. They came out involved and, be able to keep them out of the end zone late. I think that really just happened.
Well, you guys are heading to next week. What were your initial thoughts and reactions?
I just think that's a really cool semifinal. You have 2 really well-known historical schools being able to play, and Arizona football is at a great, all-time high, and you get these great games here late. It just shows where Arizona football is at. So I'm really excited about that. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Layla, for those post-game interviews. Huge win for Mountain View, especially from their defense. As we saw, Jasper Lake got 3 of Mountain View's 5 total interceptions in that game. Very impressive for them. We're going to take it now to DeWitt, who is going to be giving us the recap on Brophy versus Perry. DeWitt, how's it going?
I'm good. How you doing?
Doing great.
Yeah, so I just got back from the Brophy game. They played the Perry Pumas tonight. And it was interesting because they had played before in about week 4 of the regular season, and that game was highly contested. 24-20 is how that regular season game ended. So we came into tonight thinking that it was going to be, kind of the same type of vibe. Obviously, Perry had a really tough schedule down the stretch, so their record never really showed how good they were. But it was definitely a highly contested game up in that first quarter. Brophy got up big 14-0, but Perry fought their way all the way back. They were only down at halftime by 4. Coming out of halftime, they got the ball. So, people were thinking maybe they could double dip at the end of the half and then, start off with the lead. But in the end, the defense came up big. I think they shut them out that whole second half. They made big play after big play. Number 0, James Pike, he had 2 very crucial interceptions, both very late in the fourth quarter, which basically sealed the game, and they got the 31-10 victory.
Yep, absolutely huge win for them. And yeah, absolutely very impressive performance. Thank you, DeWitt, for a great recap. Hope you have a good rest of your night.
All right, thank you very much.
All right, so we're going to actually take it over to Paisley Pool's post-game interviews from that game. We're going to be hearing from Baden Bosch as well as Coach Jewell, so I will get those up for you guys right now.
Paisley Pool for Varsity Sports. Alongside me, player of the game and quarterback Case Vanden Bosch. Case, a lot of action here in the second quarter. You were active, the whole team. The ball kind of went back and forth. How did you guys stay composed and do this and get this win?
Yeah, it's all about, not letting the highs get too high, not letting the lows get too low, and just keeping it simple. When we kept it simple and we moved the ball, we just executed, and that's what we did tonight.
How about those 2 interceptions in the fourth quarter by your boys?
I mean, our defense has our back, so much credit to the defense, best defense in the state. I'm so confident when I'm on the bench that my defense is going to go out there and get a stop, have an amazing play.
And congratulations, and what are you guys going to do after this?
Get rest, a little banged up, and we got a big game next week, so rest up, watch film, get ready, and I'm excited.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, and let's take it over to her post-game interview with Coach Jewell.
Paisley Pool for Varsity Sports. Back alongside me, head coach of the Brophy Broncos, Jason Jewell. Coach, a lot of action there in the second half. How did you and these guys stay composed?
It's hard, right? When a game's exciting, kind of back and forth, and we gave Perry a couple opportunities to get back in the football game and give credit to our boys. We made some stops on defense that ended up winning the football game for us. So, total win, all-around win. I'm excited. Back in the semifinals again. We get a Thanksgiving practice, earn another week together, so it's a lot of fun.
Right, and in our pregame interview, you said the guys had to earn it, and they're going to have to earn it against Mountain Point or South Point.
I think it's Mountain View, is
Mountain View, excuse me.
Who actually won. So I'll have to watch some tape tomorrow on Mountain View and go from there. I don't know a whole lot about them.
We wish you the best of luck, Coach. Thank you.
Thank you. See you next week.
See you next week.
Yep, thank you, Paisley, for that. And what a matchup that's going to be, Brophy versus Mountain View. That's going to be probably matchup of the year over there in Arizona. What a spot they're in for some great games coming up. So let's take it now to Mason, who's going to give us the Queen Creek versus Pinnacle postgame report. Mason, how's it going?
Good, Adrian. How are you doing?
I'm doing awesome.
Awesome. Yeah, so this game, coming into it, but even both coaches said it pregame, and it was going to be a duel of the quarterbacks. Wyatt Horton for Pinnacle, he is one of the more established and credited quarterbacks in Arizona high school history, one of the best, in my opinion, of all time. And then you have a guy like Tate Reynolds, who's only a junior, but he's a 6'4" quarterback that's a Clemson commit, so he's going to be playing some D1 football in a couple years. So it's going to be a pretty good duel. Pinnacle came out hot. I mean, they were up 14-0 at the end of the first quarter, and then I don't know what happened, Adrian. I don't know if a switch came on in all the Queen Creek players' helmets, but they went on a 37-point unanswered streak there. 37-14, and then it was about 6 minutes left in the game. Pinnacle got 2 more touchdowns, but it was pretty much over. I mean, the 2 touchdowns came so late. Tate Reynolds, who is our player of the game, he can just do it all. I mean, he was rushing a ton. He has over 1,200 rushing yards. He had a rushing touchdown. He had multiple passing touchdowns, and then he even had a really big sack on defense. So I've never seen a quarterback come out and play edge, Adrian, and get a sack. Maybe there's a reason that Clemson is going to get him. So, yeah, I mean, great game. So Queen Creek gets to move on to the Final Four. I forgot who they're playing. I think they're going to be playing Centennial, so they get to be back at home. So it's going to be a pretty good game. Tate Reynolds, he's the real deal. That defense is the real deal. It was a fun game for sure. And Queen Creek is pretty dangerous in that 6A bracket.
Yeah, they definitely sound very dangerous. And, you hear a lot of dual threat players, especially like wide receiver and corner. I don't think I've ever heard of a quarterback also playing edge. So maybe this is just the next Travis Hunter, but on crack. I don't know.
Yeah, the next Travis Hunter that can throw passes. When he came out to play linebacker, I was like, interesting. Then he gets a sack, and I'm like, okay, makes sense. The dude's a freak athlete.
Yeah, you could see why Clemson desperately wanted him. And if he's throwing 80-yard bombs and then also getting to the quarterback on the other side, that's pretty insane to hear.
Exactly. Yeah, it was pretty fun to watch.
Can't wait for that matchup next week. It's gonna be very good.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good one. I think Queen Creek is gonna shock a lot of people and be in that 6A final.
Yep, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Mason, for your time. Hope you have a great rest of your night.
Yeah, always a pleasure talking to you, Adrian.
All right, thank you to Mason once again for his postgame report. Let's roll it on over to Douglas, who's going to be giving us the recap on Yuma Catholic versus Walden Grove. Douglas, how's it going tonight?
Good. How are you, Adrian?
Doing great.
So, yeah, it was a great game out here in Yuma. Yuma Catholic was the 1 seed and Walden Grove was the 9 seed. And coming in, I think Yuma expected to win by a little bit more, but they got started slow. There were 5 punts in the first quarter, but then in the second quarter, both teams scored touchdowns, and then Yuma Catholic was able to get a touchdown going into halftime to lead 14-7. And then in the second half, they kind of ran away with it. They scored a touchdown early on and then scored back-to-back touchdowns later on with an onside kick in the middle of it. And then Walden Grove was able to get a touchdown back to make it a 15-point game because they missed the extra point. But that was it. They weren't able to get much closer. Their quarterback went out injured in the fourth quarter, which kind of halted their offense, but they did score a touchdown with the backup quarterback in that fourth quarter. But ultimately, Yuma Catholic won 28-13, and now they're going to the 4A semifinal.
Yep, big win for them. A lot of great matchups going on in Arizona. That should be another great matchup in the semifinals that we're going to get next week. Douglas, thank you so much for joining. Hope you have a great night.
Absolutely. Thank you, Adrian.
All right, so that was Douglas with the recap on Yuma Catholic versus Walden Grove. Can't wait for that semifinal matchup. We got a lot of great semifinal matchups coming up. Coming up next week. Can't wait to see that. If you're a big fan of college basketball, number 12 Duke just beat number 17 Arizona 69-59. What a game that was! I was watching it a little bit before we came on tonight, but yeah, that was a great game. Another dominant performance from Cooper Flag, from what I'm seeing. And Arizona just could not shoot the three ball. That is not how you win college basketball games. But yeah, if you're wondering, what else is going on in football over here on the East Coast, I'm currently in Florida, so I actually go to UF. So big game for the Gators tomorrow as we take on the Ole Miss Rebels, number 9, I believe. Yes, they're number 9. Gators coming off of a huge win last week against LSU. I don't think you understand how happy I am that we finally beat the Marco Wilson curse. If you don't know what that is, that's when one of our corners, Marco Wilson, threw a shoe. Yeah, you heard that right. He took off an LSU player's shoe, threw it, got a penalty for it, and that led to them getting a game-winning field goal. We had not beaten LSU since that point until last weekend. They were 22. We were unranked. DJ Lagway had a masterclass again. And it was just probably one of the best experiences I've ever had going to a Gators football game. The first best is probably 2 years ago at home against the Utah Utes, where we won off a game-winning interception, and I thought we were national championship contenders after that game. Boy, was I wrong, but the future does look bright at this point. But we're going to transition a little bit. We're going to flip a switch. We're going to look at other stuff that's going on around the states. We're actually going to start off with Nicholas Anderson, who's going to give us a preview of the Nevada State Championship. So we're going to take that over right now to Nick.
This is Nicholas Anderson from the Hanks Greenspun School of Journalism at UNLV, reporting for the Varsity Sports Show. That time has finally come, and the two best teams in Las Vegas have officially are set the dance. The Bishop Gorman Gales versus the Arborview Aggies take place live at Allegiant Stadium on November 26, 2024. And this game is going to be something special. The two best teams in Las Vegas, which we've all expected to see go up against each other, both 10-1 this season, with Bishop Gorman's only loss to Mater Dei, the number 1 team in the country, and the Arborview's only loss to Bishop Gorman. That game is very interesting. It is because Arborview was the only conference team to score a touchdown on Bishop Gorman this season. That was led by Thaddeus Thatchus. He was fantastic that game. He ended up having a touchdown, but he did have an interception. But something that the Gales did that they seem to do every single week is the run defense. They have one of the best run defenses in the country, holding the Aggies to 11 total rushing yards on the ground. They need to get it going. Alongside their stellar offense, dropping a 45-plus bomb on them, led by Micah Eugenio and the rest of the squad. And that's going to be important. Who's going to step up for Bishop Gorman? As we saw last week against Liberty, the run game was interesting. It was a lot of passing, but the rush game was not as stellar as everyone wanted it to be. Jonathan Core did not play that game. They had to rely on Miles to get the job done for the Gales. But when you have a 3-star in Michael Eugenio in the backfield, alongside some stellar receivers, and Tiana Kiera, and Derek Meadows, you seemingly have a chance to win this game. It's going to be a great game at Allegiant Stadium on Tuesday, November 26th. Tune in. You're not going to want to miss out. This is Nicholas Anderson reporting for the Varsity Sports Show.
All right, big thanks to Nick for that preview of the state championship. What a game that's going to be. Two of the top teams of that state, Nevada. I mean, of course, they have to be the two top teams. It is the state championship, but we're going to take it over now to Reese English, who's going to give us a little bit of a recap of Central High School season over in Alabama.
Hey Adrian, it's Reese English, a University of Alabama sophomore, reporting for the Varsity Sports Show, here to talk to you about Central High School in Tuscaloosa. This year, the Falcons finished their football season with a 5-5 record, ranking just outside the top 100 in the state of Alabama. The Falcons started the year hot with a 3-0 record. They then lost 4 straight games, unfortunately, not being able to get their next win until mid-October. They finished the year 1-1, with their final game being a 49-20 blowout. Their standout victory for the season was against Paul W. Bryant. They beat them 54-13. The two teams have a historic rivalry. According to Max Preps, Amari White, their sophomore quarterback, threw for 954 yards on 52% completion percentage. He averaged just over 100 yards per game. Trayvon Hall was all over the field on offense, having 275 yards receiving on 15 catches and 5 touchdowns. He even had some passing yards, totaling 222 yards. Shung Keith Turner, the Falcons' go-to guy on the ground, ran for 847 yards and 3 touchdowns. He is a senior. James Freeman, the sophomore, ran for 424 yards and 5 touchdowns through the season on the ground. I'm Reese English, a University of Alabama sophomore, reporting for the Varsity Sports Show.
All right, big thanks to Reese for that recap of their season. I think we should just go through some rapid-fire news really quickly. NFL, a lot of chaos is going on right now. A bunch of injuries have just piled up. If you're interested really quickly, 49ers just ruled out quarterback Brock Purdy and their defensive end Nick Bosa for the Packers game. That's such a huge game for them just to get back in playoff footing and to win their division. But they just lost last week against the Seahawks and now have lost their best defensive player and their starting quarterback. So that is very brutal for them as they try to, get back in their footing, especially against a really good Packers team. Devontae Smith, wide receiver for the Eagles, he's also ruled out this weekend against the Los Angeles Rams. Again, Eagles have looked very impressive this year, especially considering that they've lost both their receivers at certain points this year. Another huge return over here for the Buccaneers, Mike Evans, star wide receiver, their number one guy, who was injured quite a few weeks ago against the Ravens towards the end of the game. He's coming back this week versus the Giants. That's gonna be, speaking of the Giants, actually, they just released quarterback Daniel Jones. They just gave him that $40 million or $80 million extension but 2 years ago, and I don't even think he made it to the end of that deal before getting cut. That is a shame for both sides because really just couldn't get it working. Last night, Steelers get upset by the Browns in a last-minute comeback from Jameis Winston. I don't know if you guys saw, but George Pickens doing what he does best, crashing out in the middle or at the end of the game. That was very interesting to see that. And, yeah, huge win for the Browns as they take down the Steelers. Steelers actually lose their first game with Russell Wilson starting as quarterback. That was very interesting. If you want to look at the NBA, Jaron McCain for the Sixers has been one heck of a pick. I believe he scored at least 20 the last about 7 games, and he's really been carrying that offense, especially with the injuries to Embiid, Paul George, and Tyrese Maxey. What a pick that has been for them. Other than that, Warriors look really good this year. Andrew Wiggins just scored 30 last night as the Warriors beat the Pelicans. And it's been very interesting. Also, another reason the Warriors might have won this weekend is because Kendrick Lamar just dropped a surprise album. I listened to it. It was a very good album. I highly recommend the listen. But yeah, also big news for the NBA. They're changing the All-Star game format once again. I feel like there's been so many changes to these, how we do these All-Star games. I know the NFL a while ago changed it to flag football because those like two-hand touch-esque games that they had with the helmets just wasn't working out anymore. And it really was just getting really old. I personally didn't like I personally started getting sick of the Pro Bowl a while ago, but the NBA basically just made this new format where essentially the All-Star game is going to be 4 teams now. It's kind of really like a little bit of a mini bracket where you're going to have 3 All-Star teams with the actual All-Stars. I believe each will have 8 players. And then that last team to make the bracket is supposed to be the winner of the Rising Stars game. So then after that, when the 4 teams are set, they'll basically have a bracket, and then the winner of that All-Star team wins the All-Star game. Very interesting, but yeah, hopefully that's more entertaining. I think it will be. But yeah, I mean, the NBA has just had a lot of interesting ideas over the last given 5 years since the 2020s that I really honestly think are really good. Adam Silver, I think, has done a pretty good job with it. I mean, first big change was the play-in tournament. I believe that started the bubble year, kind of, but it really didn't get it popularized until 2021. And then also adding the NBA Cup, I think is really interesting. And then now the new All-Star game. So we'll see how those work out. But so far, I mean, a lot of those moves have been really good. And yeah. If you're just joining us now, we just went through all of the big Arizona high school football playoff games. Yeah, a lot of great matchups that we just saw this weekend. Sorry about that. A lot of great matchups we just saw this weekend. We saw Brophy versus Perry with Case Vandenbosch going off once again for Brophy. Mountain View versus Sal Point. Mountain View winning off the back of 5 interceptions against Sal Point, led by Jasper Lake, who had 3 of his own. Very impressive performance from him. And we also went through Yuma Catholic, Queen Creek, ALA, Gilbert, and we just had some segments of what's going on around basically what's going on around around those areas. If you're wondering what's going on in Florida with these playoffs, number 14 Lakeland just destroyed Gaither in Tampa 41-13, and Chaminade Madonna, one of the biggest, probably the best team in Florida, beat St. Andrews 70-0. So a lot of blowouts going out there. But unfortunately, with that, this is where we end. A lot of good playoff games going on. I really hope to continue covering these because they have just been so freaking interesting this year. A lot of great teams about to play. I mean, Brophy and Mountain Point should be an absolutely elite matchup next week. But with that, my name's Adrian Carmona from the Varsity Sports Show. I hope you all have a great rest of your